I want to help you understand how you should charge your clients. I know many of you here pursue their own freelance careers. Some of you are starting their own production companies. So today I'm going to break it down to you simply, without overwhelming you with too much information, how you should charge your clients. And I will go over a few important differences between how a production company and a freelance should go about charging their clients. Now, being someone who's been in this industry for 8 to 10 years now and has worked with some of the biggest brand names in the world, this is how I've worked with those companies, how I charge them. The first and most important rule is always ask what's your budget. Your client will come to you in this situation and be like, hey, this is the scope of the project, this is our deadline, and this is our budget. Then within that budget, say the budget is $25 or $50 or $100,000, whatever the budget is, you have to then write a treatment, whether that's a music video or a commercial. And sometimes clients already have the creative brief, still have to determine the scope of work, what can be achieved within that given budget. And they want to see your vision, and that's also why you have to write your treatment. However, if a client will approach you without stating their budget, it is important to understand their requirements before discussing any financial figures. The way that I always approach this is, what's your budget? Because typically the budget for their project is most probably going to be higher than what you're anticipating or what you're about to even tell them. So this is a video you might do for $5,000, but the client comes to you and goes, oh, we have $10,000 to spare. Well, now you can make twice as much money doing this job based off the budget they presented to you. You want the client to speak first on what their budget is by asking them that information straight up front. And then I promise you, the majority of the time, the budget is probably going to be a lot higher than what you would charge if you would come up with that number yourself. And if it's not, you just find a polite way to tell them, hey, I don't work with budgets that small. You guys can get your budget up this range, then we can work. The majority of the time, filmmakers starting out undervalue their work because they just want to do the work and they want the job, which is totally fine when you're starting out. When I was first starting out, I was doing commercials for a few $100s every time, and that's okay. I knew that way I could build a reel, learn how to make these good videos, learn how to make persuasive treatments and pitch them and send them out to prospective clients that I wanted to work for. And then ultimately I started landing bigger jobs with that reel. And that's another important topic, is reels. It's 2024, and in my opinion, demo reels are still very important to landing bigger clients, but I'll save that for another video. Point number 2, the case for productions. After you've sorted out the budget, you're then going to want to sort out the clear and precise details in either an invoice or a contract or both. So in the invoice, you can write out your scope of the work and the payment terms. And typically for a production company, the payment terms are 75% due upfront as the deposit on the project and the remaining 25% due on the back end. Now, this always varies depending on who you're working with. For most companies, again, the production companies I work with, most of them do 75-25 or 80-20, and those seem to be the typical numbers that you see in the industry a lot. So 75 due upfront, you do the project, and then once the project is finalized and ready to go, the last 25% is due. And then once you've paid in full, you send out the video and complete the job. If you guys are interested in my treatment templates, industry pitch decks, and other resources for creative people, they're all available on my store, nurniazfilms.com. I have been working closely with production companies over the years, and these are the templates we have pitched with and use them to win our coolest portfolio pieces. And you can find more information about that in the description below. The case for freelancers. Now, freelance work is different. Someone may just want to hire you to shoot a video or to DP or to, direct or do sound design or color, any other specialized freelance service. They may want to hire you for that project, for that skill specifically. That freelance work is usually set up differently. You would have a day rate. So if someone wanted to hire me to just come and shoot as a director, a production company would be like, hey Noor, we want you to direct this commercial for this brand. And in that scenario, I would have a day rate. So your day rate for directing this video would be $1,000, for instance, which covers your work for the entire day, but also preparation, meetings, scouts, PPMs, and all of that. If you need to bring along some of your gear, it's got to be included in that rate. This may not be the case for DPs, of course, as cameras and lenses are usually rented from a rental house due to their higher costs. However, it is always the case for on-set sound people or makeup artists or editors, they always have to bring their stuff with them, and that's included in the day rate. Payment terms may vary. Typically you are paid either on a net 15 or net 30 basis, although sometimes you may get paid on that day as well. It all depends on who you are working with and the amount of money that's involved. And generally, the larger the amount of money, the more common it is to wait a little bit more for that payment to proceed. Most production companies or people will pay out on a net scale, meaning that they have a 15 or 30 days to write you that check or pay you for that work. Unlike a production company model, a freelance model is not on that 75-25 basis. That's only for when you're a production company. As a freelancer, you have your flat day rate. A normal day of shooting is usually 12 hours, so you could also do half day rate. But typically, I mean, it's rare that you find shoots that take place in 5 to 6 hours. But if you want to do that, you could always have a half day rate. That's rare, but still doable. Now, the absolute don'ts of charging clients. Never offer video packages unless you're making social media content like podcasts or TikToks. But here we're actually discussing commercials, so in my opinion, it's just messy. You will never find that in the industry. And I understand that some people want to productize their service and make it streamlined, but whenever you step into the real commercial industry, you quickly find out that it doesn't make a lot of sense for clients. Don't have video packages of like, oh, for 1 minute video is going to be this much, 2 minute video is going to be this much. It just doesn't work that way. And you can ask any industry professional, you either have a flat day rate for freelancers or you have your production budget for production companies. And that budget is always tailored for that specific job. Because if you think about it, production is a very bespoke, tailored service, and you have to be very flexible to meet your client's needs. For every single commercial, it's different. So the budgets are going to need to be tailored for that specific project. So you can't be like, oh, this package is only 2 locations, so you can't have your 3rd location in that one script. Doesn't make sense, right? Every job requires a custom offer, and that's why you make all these treatments. That's why you hire a director, or that's why you are hired as a director. If the client will need an aerial cinematography, you will hire a drone pilot, and it's going to be stated and reflected in your budget or estimate. So the next no-no is no edit by the hour. There's no way for the client to track it. You can lie. There's no way for that to be any transparency and honesty there. And some people may edit slower and some people may edit faster. You should always just come up with that flat rate. And then if it takes you a couple more hours, well, then that's your fault. Or if the client wants to keep adding on extra edits, extra notes, you can always charge a flat rate for that revision. And it will sound like, hey, if you want this extra revision, it will be another $250. But like editing by the hour, I just don't understand why people even talk about this. It doesn't make any sense. Within the industry, it's all flat rates. It's not by the hour. Nobody knows how many hours it will take you to edit. Doesn't make sense. And lastly, just keep it simple, clean, and just not confusing. If your day rate is $1,000 to shoot, that's it. It's $1,000. But don't try to add on things like, oh, it's extra $400 for my assistant and another $100 for my gas. You should already include all those numbers in your flat day rate. If that's something you will need to get the job done, your gas, assistant, just keep everything in that one number. Trust me, clients, people who are hiring you, they don't want to deal with all those extra numbers. And if it's $1,000, it's $1,000. If it's $1,500, it's $1,500. You need to work all those numbers into just one number and keep it clean and simple. You know, when a project is being produced, there's so much going on. Producers, they don't want to deal with all these numbers, this number and that number, and trying to calculate everything. The less numbers, the better. And that way you will make your producer's life easier and they'll want to work with you again instead of somebody else who is making everything more complicated. And also one super important addition to that is when you're a freelancer, please don't charge different numbers to different clients. It's always best when everyone in the game knows your day rate and it's going to be the same number for everyone. Like if your day rate is $2,000 to come shoot as a DP, then it doesn't matter if it's Nike or Mercedes or your local hotel business or any other type of business or brand. Is $2,000 for everyone. Some jobs will obviously be a bit harder. Some will be easier, but think of it as the cost of your skill set. My skill set and my knowledge is worth this much for 12 hours a day. It's in your best interest to keep that number the same going from one job to another. Your entire network will know exactly how much you command for your services and won't be confused every time they make an inquiry. And this, of course, doesn't mean that you can't bump up your price going forward, but you typically only do that once or twice a year. when there's a major update in your reel or you feel like you have leveled up. So just to recap, the number one rule, if you run a production company, always ask what the client's budget is. Well, if they don't have a budget in mind, find out what exactly they want to do, what is the scale of the project and what's it going to look like, and then come up with the number. For freelancers, figure out your flat day rate. This is all inclusive. This isn't all these extra add-ons. You charge $1,000 to come as a DP, and that's your day rate. It's flat. That's why it's flat. There can be a little bit of room for negotiation if that's the client that's especially valuable to you, if that's your relative or some big brand that you really want to collaborate with. But typically though, where you're going to find the most success is if you're just determined and you believe in yourself and you believe in your numbers, skill set, and what you're worth. Again, you can always start smaller, get a bunch of jobs under your belt, build a reel, and then start charging more once you get that work going. Look, I personally started taking every job I could, whether it was paid or not, because I wanted to build that portfolio. And then once I made a name for myself and a reel and connections, and then I was just getting hired all the time. And then I was in the position to choose the jobs I wanted to. And lastly, again, keep it simple, clean, and not confusing. When you have too many options and packages, my day rate is this much. But oh, if you want me to come out with my camera, it's going to be another number. You know, it's confusing. I'm telling you, people don't want that. Clients don't want that. Don't do that. And yeah, those are the best ways and practices to charge clients, whether you're a production company or a freelancer. Thank you for watching. I hope this video was helpful. Subscribe for more. And if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. If something was unclear, I will try my best to address it. And I will see you in the next video.